What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, but before I get into all these exciting news stories, I first want to briefly tease that the new family car has arrived. And so I was planning on doing a live stream this weekend, but I think it makes more sense to try and quickly get out the reveal video on the new family vehicle, and then once that's been posted, I'm going to plan on doing a actual new live stream next weekend, hopefully, and that way we can cover any questions or talk about that and have something interesting to talk about in addition to just the normal Q&A we usually do in the live stream. So stay tuned for that, this following weekend. And stay tuned also for the reveal video on the new vehicle. It's gonna be very interesting to see everyone's reactions to it. So stay tuned for that. So getting into the news this week here. First off, Ford CEO Jim Farley announced that the all-new 7th generation Mustang will be debuting here at the Detroit Auto Show, and the exact date will be September 14th. And so he added in his tweet here, which was a complete surprise, by the way, and I'll get into that in a second, but he says, "It's a stunning car and I'm excited to share it with the world. #save the manuals." So, the rumors were suggesting, this wasn't going to be showing up till sometime next year. That also made sense considering, I believe there's going to be a 2023 Mustang on this current, generation. And then, the 7th generation was going to be starting in 2024. So revealing a 2024 model year vehicle, all these other companies are doing it with all these EVs and stuff, but as far as ordinary cars go, that's a little early, so that's why I was shocked whenever they said that's when they're going to debut. I was assuming New York Auto Show next spring, but I'm not complaining. We get to see it a lot sooner here. And who knows, it could maybe even be like a 2023 and a half model or something, because the reports here are suggesting that it might be starting production in early 2023 or springtime of 2023, but I guess that could still be a 2024. Anyway, beyond that here, it's just awesome to also see that he's, on the Save the Manuals campaign here. We already had that confirmed previously a few months back that the Mustang would retain the manual. It has a high take rate, so, no one was really expecting it to go away, but it is just nice that Ford is not only keeping the manual around, but they're passionate about it and, want to save the manual. So that's all great news here. And I'm excited to see, what the final thing looks like. I hope it looks better than the teaser images that I discussed a couple of months ago, because I'm currently not in love with the way it looks. But obviously, a lot of new vehicles, people don't love at first and then they grow to like them as time goes on. So we'll see how that all plays out. But awesome that we don't have much longer to wait here, less than 2 months for us to see the brand new next generation Mustang, which is huge. So awesome to see that. Another company that's helping to keep the manuals around is Toyota, and this week they announced pricing for the 2023 Supra with the manual, and thankfully the manual is a no-cost option on all 3-liter versions of the Supra. The 2-liter 4-cylinder still doesn't have that option, but it's just awesome that not only is it offered, but it's going to be a no-cost option. Usually that's the way manuals go, but in these times they could have totally charged a premium for it, but they're not. So that's awesome. Now, pricing on 2023 Supras is going up in general. That's, just inflation. Just every year, it seems like every vehicle goes up in price at least a little bit. And I'd say these are reasonable increases. So for the 3.0s here, for 2023, they go up between $840 and $930. So prices now start at $53,595, including destination. So that does widen the gap a little bit between it and the Nissan Z, which now is, even fully loaded there, going to be a couple $1,000s cheaper. But as you saw in my Z video, I think that the Supra might be worth a couple of $1,000 extra because I think it drives better. And I also can reveal that I will be driving the new manual Supra here towards the end of August, and we'll have a video in September on that vehicle for you guys. And so stay tuned for my thoughts on the manual Supra here, in the not too distant future, and stay tuned and subscribe, of course, so that whenever that does come out. So anyway, very exciting to hear that about the Supra. Porsche has also announced their reveal date for the 911 GT3 RS for this generation. So that'll be debuting on September 17th. And there's just one teaser we have here so far, but you can see it's going to have fender vents again, and even larger rear wing than before, along with hood vents that also got bigger and are really aggressive there. Plus the body styling changes that we can see a little bit of as well, although the black really hides it pretty well. Porsche also hints that the new 911 GT3 RS is even more optimized for track use than its its predecessors. The spontaneously responsive, high-revving 4.0-liter six-cylinder boxer engine with approximately 500 horsepower has proven ideal for use at track days and club sport events. That's why we focus primarily on aerodynamics and chassis questions in the development of the new 911 GT3 RS. So I think that's kind of priming people to not expect a huge power bump or any power bump at all. But again, I don't think anyone's complaining. This is a glorious engine. It's plenty of power for this application anyway. It'll probably have a little bit more than the GT3 just because that's usually the way it goes. But don't expect much more, but I don't think anyone has a problem with that, especially with all the other higher horsepower stuff you can get from Porsche these days. So, leave that engine as it is and just, improve everything else. I think that's a great way to approach this. And so very excited to see that here in September. Lamborghini has also confirmed that they're having a new vehicle here coming by the end of this year. And so it's the, we don't know if the name's going to stay, but it's the production version of the Sterrato off-road version of the Huracan. And so they are putting that into production. They also say that will be the final Huracan variant before the Huracan goes away and replaced by something else. So that's also notable. And they said it's just, showing up sometime before the end of this year. Until then, we have some pretty revealing teaser images here, though. It's camouflage, but it's not, the camo isn't hiding anything, so we can see everything very clearly. So you can see it stays true to the concept with a roof rack, rugged fender flares, driving lights, and a little bit of a suspension lift. And I think this thing is awesome. I know that, it's kind of hypocritical considering this is essentially the same treatment that Subaru's done to the WRX and we all hated on it. But I think it's just inherently awesome to have this on a Huracan. I think it's, just a really cool idea. And we'll just have to, see, how they end up, tuning it and all that. But I think obviously it's going to be just very interesting to see how people actually use these as well. Will people actually take them off-road? Is it just going to be a statement thing? Are people going to actually use these things, in any kind of rugged environment? I don't know. We'll see. But awesome that Lamborghini's crazy enough to put this thing out. And so excited to see the production version of that. Maserati also has teased a new track-only race car called Project24 that appears to be somewhat based on the MC20. It's not really clear. I don't think this is just like a variant of the MC20. It seems to be more different than that, but it seems to share a lot with the MC20. Anyway, you can see it at least has completely unique body panels, and it runs a version of the 3-liter twin-turbo V6, but with much larger turbos that give it 119 extra horsepower for 740 horsepower total. It swaps the MC20's 8-speed automatic for a 6-speed sequential gearbox and tosses the electronic limit slip differential for a mechanical limit slip diff instead. It, of course, also has carbon ceramic brakes, racing brakes from Brembo, a full race suspension that's adjustable, center lock wheels. The aero is adjustable as well. And despite the upgrades, their weight goal for the car is 2,756 pounds, which is 552 pounds less than the MC20. They did this by using carbon fiber body panels, even though the body is 2 inches wider here compared to an MC20, but even though it's a little bit larger, it's lighter, they say, and they also are swapping in a full race interior, which I think is a large part of where they're getting that savings from. So it has, Lexan windows, the passenger seat's optional, and everything else is totally stripped out, so it's very, very bare bones. Although they did say it has air conditioning, so that's nice, but everything else is pretty basic, race car, and does have all the other safety tech added in though, like it has a racing fuel tank, roll cage, fire extinguishers, all that kind of stuff as well. So that will add some weight, but pretty stripped out compared to an MC20. So anyway, only 62 of these will be built, and there's no pricing for those yet, but it's one of those things, people buying these don't care, and so it's kind of irrelevant anyway. But anyway, interesting to see that. And late last week, Cadillac has fully revealed the Celestiq, and this is a show car version, but it seems like it's be pretty close to the production version. So expect most of this to carry over. Maybe the wheels will get slightly tweaked or sized down, but aside from that, it should be pretty close to production here. And I think it's pretty dramatic looking, just with how large it is, but especially towards the back there, the way that it's styled. That rear overhang is pretty intense and pretty awesome, I think, though, honestly. Also, you can see those large lights in the back, the cool welcome animation in the front that these things do also is going to be helping it to make an impression. It being rare, expensive, and a hand-built car will also help it to stand out. We still don't have pricing, but the rumors now are over 300 grand for one of these things fully loaded. So we'll keep our eyes on the price tag of this, whenever that does come out here at some point. But other things here. So When you hop inside, you'll see there's a 55-inch display going the whole width of the dashboard, and even has electronic digital blinds on it somehow to allow the passenger to watch video without distracting the driver. There's also 4 other screens, 2 to control stuff and then the 2 entertainment screens. Another impressive piece of tech is the smart glass roof. It was previously teased and we knew about it already, but it uses suspended particle device technology to provide 4 different zones of dimming, 1 for each seat. Possibly the most impressive tech that will be debuting in this car is Cadillac's Ultra Cruise, which allows the same hands-free driving experience as Super Cruise, but on city streets and local roads. So this effectively makes it almost completely able to be driven without assistance from the driver. It's not fully autonomous still, because it seems like obviously there's going to be roads that aren't covered, and there's going to be, you know, a situation starting out and, you know, coming back home, things like that, or maybe you are going to have to do that. But this is going to be about as close as I think we can realistically expect to get to autonomous cars for a good long while. So this stuff's going to be rolling out here with the Celestiq, and I think that alone could potentially justify the price. Obviously the luxury and you know, the rarity will help, but I think if, you know, the ultra rich are willing, or, you know, just want to have something that is actually hands-free most of the time, you know, that could be worth the 300 grand alone just for that Ultra Cruise tech. I think at least to be one of the early adopters of that tech. So, you know, we'll see. But anyway, you know, we're going to have more details on that as this develops, but we, you know, just have the basics that were revealed a while back. But anyway, so, you know, that's just going to be on here once again. And on top of that, there's no other specs that we still have, but we know it's going to be on the Ultium platform. We knew that years ago. But aside from that, you know, we don't really have any specs as far as power, battery range, or anything like that. We also have no info on when this will actually start production, when we'll see the actual production version. You know, all those things are still a mystery. I think the rumors whether this is supposed to start production next year, I don't know, you know, but again, that's just a guess, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, very impressive, very, very promising. I do have to add, though, one last little thing is that I wish they differentiated it more from the Lyriq, because up front there, it looks a lot like the Lyriq. And I don't know if someone's spending $300,000 or even $200,000 on a Cadillac, which is already kind of a tough sell these days. But even if, you know, they did, you know, do you want it to look like a $60,000 family electric crossover? Like, I mean, I feel like for the price and the hand-built thing, they should have made this look completely unique. I get the whole, like, design language. You want to keep it going throughout all your ranges, but, you know, just to me, it makes sense to make this completely unique and, you know, just do something that stands out a little bit more from the sea of Lyriqs that are going to be all over the place in just a few years, you know. So that's the only thing. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But, you know, if there's anything that hurts this car's sales, I think that will be it. Is people like, oh, it just looks like a Lyriq in the front, you know, and that's it. Obviously, from every other angle, it looks a lot more different. It's a sedan, and it's got way more tech, but, you know, just, I don't know. I wish they would have done something a little more unique with the front end. Anyway, moving on here. For a production Cadillac, you can actually order here relatively soon. They've revealed the 2023 CT4V Blackwing track editions. So there's 3 different track editions. There's the Sebring IMSA edition, which is gray, the Watkins Glen IMSA edition that's electric blue, and the Road Atlanta IMSA edition that's white. They take the regular versions with the carbon fiber packs that those vehicles come added on with as an option, and then they add Cadillac racing graphics to the hood, the doors, along with unique seats that can be had in exclusive colors with the option for either tan or gray on the blue and gray cars, and then red or tan on the white one. The inside also gets a special medallion on the shifter, a plate on the B-pillar with the VIN, and special side sill plates as well. And only 99 of each of these will be made, but there's no pricing for those yet. But it's just kind of odd that a track edition doesn't have any track upgrades. Now, the CT4V Blackwing on track is still fantastic. I mean, I, you know, was lapping it last year, and at VIR, it was very, very impressive. Didn't need anything more, but, you know, typically if you call something a track edition, you know, it's not just paying homage to a track. It's actually, like, supposed to be a little more track ready. But, you know, still an awesome thing, and just glad to see the Blackwings are sticking around for a second model year. Each year that goes by with these things sticking around is a win in my book, so great to see that. Mini has revealed the Aceman concept this week, and while this concept is a little unrealistic, it does preview a production vehicle that Mini says is coming to slot in between the Cooper and the Countryman. And it almost looks like they took a next-gen four-door Mini, made the front lights a little more angular, but otherwise just gave it like the Subaru Crosstrek type treatment to make it rugged. And it's a formula that's been proven to work for basically every other car company, you know, so hopefully it does well for Mini here too, but it sounds like a pretty solid idea that hopefully should be a hit. They say it's about an inch longer than the current four-door Cooper and about 6 inches taller. And as you can probably guess, it's electric, but there's no details on the powertrain for it just yet. But because it doesn't need a functional grille, you can see it has that cool LED surface that can be changed and customized with different colors and designs. The interior uses the idea of charismatic simplicity, they call it, according to Mini, but they must not be talking about those busy seats because there's nothing simple about the seat design. But aside from that, the actual bits that probably will make it to production are very cool and simple, you know, with a circular screen there that they say runs Android-based software and the simple toggle switches beneath it there. I mean, they're talking about like specifics like this screen uses Android-based software. So like specifics like that make you know that like this is something they're seriously working on, because that screen, you know, sounds like it's something that's already close to being production ready. You know, awesome that they're going to be having all that. On top of that, you can see there's a few things that might be a little concepty, like there's a projector that can display images or maps onto the actual dashboard. And I don't know if that'll make it to production. That seems a little far-fetched, but I could potentially see something like that eventually, you know, making it to production. But I don't know if that'd be cost-effective just yet, but we'll see. That would be very cool. And as far as when this is going to arrive, various automotive media outlets claim 2024 is when we'll see a version of this in showrooms. And it seems like, again, Mini is fairly far along if they're already polishing up the infotainment system and stuff. So hopefully, you know, they tone down the lights for production a little bit and stuff. But aside from that, you know, I think this thing will hopefully be ready to go here, you know, for 2024, maybe even 2024 model year, sometime next year debuting. We'll see. But anyway, very interesting to see that. And we have a couple of new rumors about future Lexus sports cars this week. And it seems like every other week there's, you know, talks of something, whether it's the GT3 race car thing they're working on, which is going to get some type of production version, possibly through the RC lineup and stuff. But this week, you know, we're talking about some rumors as far as a LFA successor and the LCF once again. So there's been in the past, you know, previous reports of, you know, rumors of a Lexus supercar that's going to be gas powered as well as one that's going to be electric. And it's been very confusing as far as, you know, is this the same car? Or are these two separate cars? It seems like those two rumors have kind of diverged now. And it seems like the electric thing is going to be happening in like 2030. And that's like way off in the distance, but I also don't know why we'd be talking about that, you know, 8 years away from when it's supposed to debut. So I think like if there's smoke, there's fire. Like maybe there is something, you know, coming sooner as far as an electric, you know, Lexus sports car. But I think what we can expect closer to now is some kind of gas power thing. And so getting into these new reports here this week. So we know that, you know, Lexus already teased an LCF back in April. On their Instagram page, they had an image, a shadowy image of an LC with a giant F logo in the background. You know, maybe it wouldn't be a full-blown LCF. Maybe it'd be another LCF performance model, much like what you've seen with other stuff where maybe they just beef up the engine, but don't really touch the other stuff too much. It could be something like that, or it could be a full-blown LCF, which has been rumored and spied for years. There's been spy shots of huge wings on the back of them and crazy brakes and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, we know they've been working on stuff. It's just a matter of, did that stuff get the green light for production? But again, if they're teasing something here with the F badge, with the LC, that is one thing. And there's talks that there's something showing up from Lexus at the Monterey Car Week in August. My bet would be that's what that is, since that seems to be the closest thing to reality right now. But we have some other stuff here. So, Japanese magazine MagX is claiming that there will also be this new LFA successor that's separate from the LCF, that will be getting a 5-liter twin-turbo V8 from the LC500 endurance race car. And this does make sense because back in 2019, Lexus said that that engine is destined for use on future road cars such as sports cars, plural. So the fact that it says that makes me think that maybe we first see this engine in the LCF, because the LCF has always been rumored to have a twin turbo V8. So maybe, you know, that gets the engine first, but then, we maybe see some type of more extreme vehicle that's not as soft as the LC, that maybe gets the same engine, maybe with a higher tune on it. But something that's got, way more carbon fiber in the platform, maybe, or maybe even a full carbon fiber tub or something like that, something really extreme, and something that is, a little bit more race car based, because they do have to do something, supposedly, that if they want to race this vehicle, they would have to homologate it and stuff. So we'll see how everything goes, because there's multiple race car projects within Lexus and Toyota and everything. It's awesome. There's so many rumors and actual things happening racing wise within Toyota and Lexus that keeping it all straight is honestly tough to do, but that's a good problem to have. But anyway, so kind of a confusing report, but essentially, boiling it all down, it sounds like there's going to be hopefully an LCF still, and also some type of LFA successor that's going to have a really sweet twin turbo V8. That's kind of the gist of it for now, and probably something electric down the road as well. But yeah, all awesome to see all that stuff. And again, also got to throw in the GT3 race car thing with an RC version coming out down the road as well. I mean, there is going to be plenty of choice within Toyota and Lexus as far as sports cars goes here. So it's awesome leadership at Toyota and Lexus right now. So anyway, very curious to at least see. Hopefully we will in fact see something at Monterey Car Week, and that'll at least cross one of them off the list, and we'll know something here solid and concrete next month. So we'll have to wait and see, but interesting to hear all that. And for another rumor that's a little bit easier to follow, thankfully, Ford Authority cites their sources familiar with the matter that claim that the F-150 Tremor version will be getting a V8 for the 2023 model year. So currently it's only available with the 3.5-liter EcoBoost motor, and so adding in the V8 would not only satisfy those who want a more off-road ready truck, but don't want to spend Raptor R money but still want a V8. This would be like one of those, Raptor R's, they're 109 grand they just announced last week. So, having this thing come in at, 60, 70 grand, something like that, would be almost half the price. And then you have, good savings there, but still have a really sweet truck. So, we'll see how that plays out. But as far as, if that does turn out to be true with this getting the V8, it could potentially get cheaper, because typically in the F-150 hierarchy, the 3.5-liter EcoBoost is an upgrade that's more expensive than the V8. So potentially bringing in the V8, if they keep everything else the same, will potentially lower the price of the Tremors, which would be great news and a refreshing change considering everything else is ballooning in price these days. But it might not end up playing out that way, because there's also some reports here saying that Ford may be eliminating the lowest trim of the Tremor and forcing everyone into the mid pack, like a 401A pack for those for the 2023s. So that would kind of negate it. So maybe it would, either go up a little bit or stay around the same price, even with the savings you should be getting from the V8. It'd kind of be a wash, or we'll still have Tremor prices go up regardless. We'll see, because I believe that package is usually about $6,000. So you're not going to, recoup that with a few $1,000 savings on the V8. So chances are Tremor prices will go up if that's what they end up doing. But still, just the fact they're offering the V8, I think is great. It's awesome news, not only for F-150 buyers, but also the more popular the V8 is within the F-150 and how much, it's relied on in the F-150. That also cements that motor's future for the Mustang, which, again, F-150 continues to subsidize that Mustang V8. So any new V8 variants of the F-150 are good news, especially for Mustang fans. So great to hear that rumor. We'll see if that turns out to be true. But either way, it sounds like a great decision, if they do add in the V8 there. Another interesting report here this week. Volkswagen's American Senior Vice President of Product and Strategy confirmed to CarBuzz this week during an interview that the Atlas and the Tiguan will not only get new generations, which was kind of assumed, but also more power. And so, and he's talking about enthusiast type stuff here in a way. So he said, I can confirm that the Tiguan will have a successor. Whether it will be a full-blown R, maybe not, but I can tell you that there will be a derivative in the Tiguan lineup that will have a little bit more oomph and a little more giddy-up. I like his wording. But he did stay vague as far as, what that will actually be. He left the door open for an R version, saying whether that will be an R that's 100 to 150 horsepower more than the standard derivative remains to be seen. But he also explained the reason why the current Tiguan R that's already for sale in Europe, we don't get that here in the States. He said that they tried to bring it to the States, but there were several setbacks. The main one being that the Tiguan R uses the short wheelbase version of the Tiguan that we don't get here in the States. And I guess for some reason transplanting those components onto the R longer wheelbase Tiguan was hard to do. I'm not sure why, because I mean, aside from like the drive shaft, I feel like everything else should be a direct swap in. So I'm not sure, why that, disqualified it from coming here. But anyway, I'm sure there's other things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So, but at least it was nice that he, kind of explained why we don't get the Tiguan R here. But it sounds like they definitely do want to give us a performance variant down the road, which would be great. Hot SUVs are, certainly becoming more and more popular. So I think that's definitely a good move, and it would be exciting to see. But on top of that, about the Atlas, he added, the Atlas will have a successor in the market, and the powertrain topic for that particular car is still open too. So we are pushing maybe to have some sort of an engine derivative for Atlas that will also put out a little more than what we're putting out today. Whether that will be a full performance version, I'd probably say no, but it'll be something that'll give the car a little more horsepower and will stand out over the standard V6 or 4-cylinder offerings that we have in the midsize SUV market today. So, I think that's just basic stuff to make the vehicle competitive, in this emerging, market where, more and more people are, going for these larger SUVs like the Atlas, and the fact that, you have a lot of these vehicles continuing to offer a little bit more power, little by little, and, swapping in different engines, like the Highlander this year getting the Turbo 4 instead of, the V6 it used to have and stuff. We'll see. Hopefully, Volkswagen can carve out a little niche and maybe do something a little bit more performance oriented, even if we don't get a full Atlas R ever. Having something a little sportier would be cool, and so we'll see about that. He didn't give any kind of timeline as far as when we can expect a new Tiguan or Atlas, but both have been refreshed pretty recently, but they're also both on pretty old bones. So my guess was that, we'll probably see something new from both of these in the next 2 to 3 years. I would say maybe the Tiguan before the Atlas, considering there's still, the discussion is open as far as the engine for the Atlas still, which means that is further behind in production compared to, the Tiguan here, which sounds like they already kind of have locked in what they're going to be doing engine-wise. So that seems like it's a little further along with development than the Atlas. So I would expect Tiguan first, then Atlas, sometime in the next few years here. And so anyway, very interesting to hear that. Nice of, him to be very open about that. And, even though he didn't give us too many specifics, it's nice to have some info. So if you're someone who's a Volkswagen fan that wants a Tiguan R, at least now you can stay tuned, and, hold your horses for a few years, and hopefully there will be, something to satisfy what you're looking for, in not too distant in the future. So very exciting to hear that. For some much bigger Volkswagen news this week, though, they've gotten rid of Herbert Diess as their CEO, and it's a pretty big deal. I mean, this is, one of the largest companies in the world, honestly, and to be, having all these shakeups they've been having in the past few years, it's just very dramatic over at Volkswagen Group. So anyway, Herbert Diess is now out as CEO, and Porsche's CEO Oliver Blume has been put in and promoted to take over all of Volkswagen Auto Group while also still being the head of Porsche. So he's going to really have a full plate there. So, but that's the way they're doing this for now. And Bloomberg cites a variety of reasons for getting rid of Diess, claiming he caused a lot of strife that hurt productivity, and that the huge software debacle, which I talked about a couple weeks ago, that has been delaying new vehicles, and there's been all kinds of. No, we're not talking about like the infotainment software sucking, but we're talking about like the software, the reason why the ID3 was delayed, the reason why the new Golf was delayed, all that came down to just the software not being good and having a bunch of glitches and bugs they couldn't work out. And now we've heard about Project Artemis and all these other electric vehicles coming in the next few years. Those are being pushed back. The Macan EV's been pushed back a little bit because they're struggling with getting the software into that and everything. So it's just a giant mess as far as software goes at Volkswagen. I don't know why they can't afford to hire people that can do software well. But anyway, that's one of the other reasons here. So the official statement from Volkswagen Group, though, does credit Diess for strategically gearing Volkswagen Group towards electromobility, and that it is to his particular credit that Volkswagen Group today is in a strong position for further transformation. So that's very nice. And I mean, it's true that, he guided Volkswagen through some very rough times here. And, they came out on the other side, and they're still, a solid company that's, on the cutting edge as far as the electric stuff goes in many ways. employees, and is still a giant company that's very, very successful. So I think that still does deserve some credit for him. So awesome to see them giving him credit, even though they got rid of him. And you'll see what the new direction is like with Porsche's CEO now at the helm. That'll be interesting. See if maybe they go a little bit more performance oriented as a result or not. But interesting to hear that. And lastly, for some positive news here, Chevy will be trying a new tactic to try and get Corvette Z06 buyers to keep their Z06s here for these 2023 models. So for those that keep their Z06s for at least a year, Chevy will be rewarding owners with $5,000 worth of Chevrolet reward points, which they say can be used to make car payments if your loan is through GM Financial, or it can be used for accessories, servicing, things like that. So this is nice. I think obviously anyone that's getting a Z06 to flip it, I mean, they are going to be making way more than $5,000. And it's not even $5,000 cash. It's like $5,000 in Chevy points. So, it's not super compelling, but what I think this really does is it rewards those who, plan to just buy the car and keep it for themselves for at least a year, and they plan to enjoy it. This is kind of just rewarding those guys so that they don't feel like they're missing out for not having flipped the vehicle, and give them a little bit of a bone that they're tossing them there. And obviously it's going to be an amazing product. Chevy doesn't need to do this, but it's just nice that they are, I think. And so just a cool little thing. I don't think it's going to stop anyone from flipping them, but it's just a nice gesture, I think. So very cool to see that. And before I go, I lastly want to thank all of you who are members of the Matt Moran Motoring Club. We didn't have any new members join this week, but I did want to give a shout out here to member Daniel Brooks for being a member this week. So thank you so much, Daniel, for being a member, and thank all of you who are members of the club here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the perks still. And yeah, if you want to join, there's going to be a link in the description below, as well as a button here on the video page and the channel page if you're on a computer. But I very much appreciate the support from all of you who are members. It really means a lot. And yeah, stay tuned for an exciting weekend. Hopefully I'll be able to get this video out on the family vehicle and revealing that for you guys. But otherwise, yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.